Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Naomi. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This is a back-to-back episode situation, the season finale, but I'm going to be breaking these episodes down one by one, and I've only seen episode 12, so I haven't actually seen the actual season finale, episode 13, so do keep that in mind. But, Naomi is starting to remember fragments of her past. In fact, when she was a baby and was kind of shipped away from Earth 29, she sees people in these black cloaks, which the question is like, are those her parents? I was kind of under the assumption at first, I was like, that seemed like that might be Greg and Jen, but probably not. Maybe it actually is her biological parents, but she's remembering that. And then, the five other people in her life, the grown-ups, have kind of made a unilateral decision without her input. Unilateral, but more so unified in that they need Naomi to decide, right, she can't go back to Earth 29. It's like, could she go to another planet in this universe? It's like, it won't be far enough that Brutus won't be able to reach her. So, they're trying to figure out what to do. But Naomi wants to stay and fight, but everyone wants to try and protect her because Dee's like, you need more time. You are powerful, but you need to be stronger to face what's to come. And everyone agrees with that. Akira, Zimbardo, Jen, and Greg, and she's even surprised by it. It's like, when have you five ever agreed on anything together? And it's like, right, you should acknowledge the fact is, if we are willing to, if we're all in agreement about this speaks volumes that it is something that is that important. So they're going to try and fix the transporter that Naomi came here on, and she has to live a normal life. So, one side of this episode kind of tackles the whole Anthony and Lourdes thing, because Anthony, he heard about Nathan and Naomi, which a lot of people have, which are also kind of like, well, we know Anthony likes Naomi, so it's almost like, are you really going to try and, swoop in this moment? But it's like, maybe it's more so, want to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're not trying to immediately be her rebound, that you're just trying to be a friend. It's like, right, I know you're kind of going through something, so I want to do something to kind of perk you up. And she's like, oh, so he's like, I'm revisiting the Superman article. I'm going to interview people. But Naomi's like, yeah, that Superman thing was so long ago. We don't really need to interview anybody about it. I haven't updated my website. I mean, that probably is true, because a lot of the comic book love and admiration she has for superheroes has kind of fallen to the wayside when her life has now become a comic book, that she's become a superhero herself. So, but she ends up talking to Akira, who, much like Naomi, believes that no, she needs to be the one to find something that's kind of a myth, a source of power. She ended up talking about it, that there are like special elements in like different dimensions and stuff like that. And she said kryptonite, which I'm wondering, like, is kryptonite unique to this universe? Which you would assume not. But I'm not sure if that's what that was kind of implying. Or maybe it's just kind of like, it seemed like that's what she was implying, like that's a rare metal, rare element. And so that one's also kind of makes this universe unique because it has that. But she also references a thing, some kind of metal is what she was referencing. I'm like, the name sounded familiar, I just couldn't place where I potentially knew it from. But she's suggesting Naomi find this power, and whatever it is, this source of power, she gets it, it's going to increase her power. And because Naomi doesn't want to leave this place behind, Puerto Suego has become her home, her best friend, her BFF is here, her entire life is here. This is the first place that's ever felt like home. But once again, everyone's just trying to do what's best for her because they're trying to protect her from the danger, especially because the longer she stays here, this school was a prime example of the people she cares about can easily be targeted. So that's always going to be an issue the longer she stays here. So she ends up leaving with Annabelle and goes on a road trip with her to track down this source of power, because she had a vision that led her to a field of like very specific flowers. And it's kind of a nice road trip. And I love that it's like, oh, like, who would have thought Akira would be the weakest of the parents, that she would have folded? And it's like, all of our money was on D, which I love that. I thought that was kind of a cute thing. But that road trip obviously led to some interesting conversations between Annabelle and Naomi. Naomi kind of even getting a little nostalgic. She's like, hey, you remember your 16th birthday? Which like 3 years ago for them, which now feels like a complete another lifetime ago, because that's around the time Naomi came to like Puerto Suego, isn't it? or maybe they were there longer, but whatever the case may be. I love the whole thing of like, right, I was at this particular, I think Naomi was at the roller skate waiting for Annabelle. Annabelle was bowling, waiting for Naomi. And it's like, if Jacob hadn't spilled the beans, they would have spent their birthdays like waiting for each other. But then they kind of came together, you know, at that point it was like the 3-year anniversary. At that point, it was the 3-year anniversary of their friendship, so obviously she's been in Puerto Rico a lot longer. But I thought that was kind of sweet. It's just like that BFF-dom. It's like that. Like I said, I love their best friend-dom. Like it's such a cute, like might be my current fave BFFs. But they ended up, what was it? Roller bowling is what they invented because of like them coming together like that. And once again, it just feels like another lifetime ago because it's like, right, that was so long ago with everything that's kind of going on. And she even asked Annabelle later on, does she ever wish things were like normal, like 3 months ago, that I never found out the truth about what I was. I'd be able to have just a normal life. But given all the craziness and all the deadliness that's come in her life, it's done a lot of good for her as well. I mean, it's like, right, like can you believe, like, if it weren't for your powers, you finding out who you really are, we would have never met someone like D, would have never become friends with someone like D. Zimbardo, we would have always thought, oh, he's the weirdo creepo, but then we find out, no, he's actually a really kind guy. And it's like, you wouldn't have found out the truth about your parents being aliens, you wouldn't have superpowers. Like, there is a lot of good that came with it. And I think it helped bring her closer to the people around her. I mean, you know, made her and Annabelle even more like super ride or ride, you know? I mean, they were already in a good spot, but I think it just pushed them even over the edge. And, you know, I think it brought her inner circle even closer to her with the truth. But it is that thing of, you know, every superhero gets to that point where they doubt themselves. Because now Naomi's not sure if she has what it takes. Because she's thinking like, yeah, I'm not like Superman. Because Superman never doubts himself. Which is funny because, and Annabelle's like, right, you don't know that for sure. You know, maybe even, maybe Superman listens to sad girl music or whatever in his ice castle or whatever. And it's like his fortress is solitude. She's like, yeah, whatever. But it's like, yeah, we know that Superman doubts himself from time to time. Obviously, it's like these conversations are interesting to have, considering there's a Superman show that comes on the same night as this. You know, that's 100% like scheduling-wise done on purpose in that regard. But we know that Superman doubts himself, doesn't always know what he's doing, if what he's doing the right thing, and he, you know, the concerns about protecting, like where Naomi right now is where every other superhero has ever been, but the person she idolizes the most is Superman, and he's been in those exact shoes, but she's never had an opportunity. She's only read the comics, but I even love that she had made Annabelle had made the point of like, well, what if it's just kind of like you know, it's just showing like the good parts, you know, which is interesting because like the comics show Superman, you know, Superman's like not so great parts. I mean, it's like, I mean, let's not forget the comics did showcase him dying, but I mean, he did kind of come back to life afterwards, you know, with the whole doomsday thing, but still, I think it was what Naomi kind of needed to hear, but she was still kind of doubting herself because, you know, she was kind of so sure that she was ready for this, but when she had everyone else telling her, it's because so many people say like her destiny is so big, like what she's capable of. So many people have high hopes for her, and she's like, what if I can't rise to the occasion? What if I won't ever be ready to meet the expectations of what people expect me to be, that I'm supposed to be this hero? Because she realizes like what Zimbardo and Akira hope for her is to be the one to fix everything, to fix their world, to save their world. But the guy chasing after her is the same guy that he kind of gave me almost, just because of like almost like the him walking everywhere thing, he reminded me of the cowboy, the Saint of Killer in Preacher, which obviously it's a Vertigo property under the DC umbrella, so it's very relevant to the conversation. But it's like, it kind of reminds, because like his thing was like literally walking everywhere. He was just like, yeah, you slow down in any shape or form, I will eventually catch up to you type of thing. It kind of had that vibe and feel to it. I even love when they're trying to escape the hotel. I love that she's like, yeah, I thought the worst I was going to get here was dysentery. And Naomi's like, why would you think dysentery? She's like, like that game with the horse and stuff, referencing the Oregon Trail. But I also love that Naomi was like, they were making an escape plan and stuff like that. And Naomi references the Lord of the Rings, and then just Annabelle looking at her like, I should have never let Jacob convince us to watch that Lord of the Rings marathon. It's like, okay. So I think some people have turned around on it, probably after Jacob had to have his heart broken where people like talked about how much they hate the Lord of the Rings. He's just saying, no, I'm gonna make you guys lovers of the Lord of the Rings if it's the last thing I do, because no one else loves it like he does. In fact, Naomi and I think Lourdes in particular hate it, so. But regardless, they ultimately were able to get away and make it to the field, but that field there was no power source, and ultimately the guy that's hunting her found her after he tried to go after Lourdes and Anthony, which we'll get to later. I thought that was kind of interesting, him using size, and he was like powering them up. Like, I love that it's just like everything's like energy weapons from that world or something. I wonder, is that just the very nature of those weapons? Because it seems like, they're normal size at first, and then he channels energy through it. So they don't seem like they're just like beam swords. It's kind of very much like, it's a weird reference, video game reference I'm going to make. There's a video game called Shadow Hearts. Is it From the New World? I can never remember. I want to say From the New World. It's the third game. Basically, the main protagonist basically can turn a knife into a lightsaber. He builds up this energy around it called malice, and it basically makes his knife have like a red aura around it, like a lightsaber. It just reminded me of that, channeling energy around your weapon. I'm sure there's plenty of other examples I could have made. I could have made an anime reference, like Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. Well, in the beginning, eventually he learned just to harness the energy on his own, but he used to have to use a broken piece of a wooden sword to do. Like I said, I'm going on tangents, but I'm just curious whether it's just a straight up like, no, that the energy is just from the weapon itself, or whether you have to channel your own energy through the weapon. But Naomi goes toe to toe with him, and she almost gets stabbed. But the moment his side come down, they shatter when they get close to her skin. So either she has skin like Superman, where it's like, she's impenetrable. It's like, what is your actual weakness? Superman has kryptonite, so what is yours? Like, because if not, that could put you on a lane higher than Superman. But there's also that thing of like, well, Superman holds back a lot of times, and just what Superman's actual power cap is, because he's considered like one of the most overpowered characters probably in comics. But it's like, except for like the kryptonite weakness, it's kind of like, we don't know if Naomi has anything like that. But my question is, once again, just over, analyzing powers, does she actually have impenetrable skin? Because I'm trying to think, has that ever come up before? She's gotten hit before, but she's never gotten stabbed before. So either in that last moment, because like she's been knocked back, but I think you can still get knocked back even if something doesn't pierce your skin. But I'm like, either that power developed in that moment, like, she manipulated her powers to make her body impenetrable. Or I was wondering if she basically used her powers subconsciously to create like a thin, like wind shear barrier around her. Because like the way when those blades came down, it wasn't just like they shattered. So it didn't just seem, maybe that's just impenetrable skin, but you would almost think it would just like snap and break. The fact is, it shattered into pieces like that. It just, it still could be impenetrable skin. But like I said, I get the feeling like it was almost like she created a barrier, a wind shear. If, once again, another anime reference, kind of like the 8 trigrams rotation, how it kind of like almost like that, but on a skin level, and it repelled it and shattered it. Like, I was wondering, that was kind of my thought process. Once again, I could be wrong on both fronts, or right on the former and not the latter, whatever the case may be. I just thought that was interesting. Once again, every episode that goes by, we develop more and more. She literally got super speed last episode. She doesn't have full access to everything, because the only reason why she used the super speed last episode is because she did it subconsciously. It's like, right, I need to do this. I need to make it count. She doesn't really, I think she has so many powers under her belt, but until she can fully learn how to utilize all of them. I think I made this reference early on in the season too. Like, she reminds me of Dion from Raising Dion. He has like so many powers that, I just make up powers and I can do it. So it almost kind of reminds me of like the long list of things you can do. It's like, you can do what Superman can do. Only thing you can't do is fly yet, but that might be an eventuality. Once again, I've never looked into her from the comics. I haven't Googled her at all from the comics. I just want to take the show in as it is. So I don't know the full extent of what she can even do in the comics, you know, so. But I thought it was interesting how running into that guy was a clue to her, because he said the line of, oh, like, here I am coming after you again all these years later. It always comes back to the start. And that gave Naomi the idea to take the disc and put the pendant in it, and it opened up some doorway. I don't know whether it was just kind of like some little subspace that was created, goes in there, and she meets her parents, who, interestingly enough, you know, they're just kind of like, I think they're very much like the Laura and Jor-El situation of like, once again, the Superman parallels, that they're just like knowledgeable holograms, essentially fragments of her actual biological parents. So they end up revealing to her, hey, you are the superpower. Like, there is no like power elemental power here. It's you. It's like, oh, the power, you know, typical thing of your hero's journey of the power was in you the entire time. You just didn't know it. And in this particular case, it's like, you are more powerful than you think you are. You just have to believe in yourself. And the question is like, what if I'm not ready? It's like, you have to be. You have to trust in yourself to be able to do this, because you're the only one that's capable of saving our world. You have the power to fix it because you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. But they also warn, be careful of someone near you, because if the fact is we're not here means we were betrayed. So there's a few names on that list. You're immediately like, okay, is it Akira? I don't know. Zimbardo? I don't know. Now, what's going to be crazy if we find out it's Jin or Greg, that it's not both of them, that it's one of them, and one, it's like, what, you've been lying to me this entire time? Because it has to be someone from Earth 29, because D's not from that universe. He's from this universe. So, but they're setting D up to potentially betray Naomi, which we'll get to that later. But I find that so fascinating. Like, who could it be? I'm sure we're going to find out in the season finale. But like I said, I have not watched episode 13 yet. So I'm before watching it, I'm throwing out some guesses. Like I said, I'm leaning more towards potentially Jen or Greg, that it's going to end up being one of them, and maybe they had their own reasons for doing it. It'd be interesting if it was Akira, considering Akira was the one that she's like sending Naomi out on his mission. Then it might just be the Zimbardo thing, because it's like, I don't know. Maybe the person that's betraying her doesn't know that they betrayed. You know, maybe it's just kind of something that was secretly implanted in them. They don't even realize it. I don't know, that betrayal is going to hit hard, because these are people she's come to trust. I think it hit more if it was Zimbardo, because she was wary of him, but then slowly gained so much trust towards him that I'm like, it might end up being Zimbardo. Not unless, I don't think that's going to be it, but I was about to say, not unless everything inside of, like, you know, her talking to her parents, not unless that was 100% BS, but I feel like that's probably sincere and real, so there's probably truth to the whole, like, no, like, someone betrayed us type of thing, so. I was like, not unless it's another member of the 29, but I mean, the only ones we met so far are Zimbardo and Akira. They would know, because I was about to say, like, not unless it's someone else that, once again, the Lourdes thing kept making me go, like, is there going to be something about Lourdes that we don't know? And it's like, it doesn't seem like it. Not unless, once again, not unless that ends up being the twist or something. But I'm like, if she was part of the 29 or something, you would assume Akira and Zimbardo would know, because they all came here together and just scattered to the winds. So you'd assume they would know. So I don't think that's going to be it. So it has to be someone we know amongst that group, specifically of the adults, that ends up betraying Naomi's parents. So, like I said, the Jin or Greg, or Jin and Greg, would be a really interesting twist, because it's like, maybe they betrayed her parents, but then they felt bad about it, and maybe that's why they go above and beyond to protect her. It's like, right, we love her so much, like, don't, because they got into that whole conversation with Akira, because she secretly sent Naomi on this mission without letting them know, because Akira had given up hope about their world. It's like, the tear gave them powers, but it also took so much from them as well. It's like, because for Akira, it's like, I got these powers while every other person suffered in the long run. She gained something from it while everyone else lost something, and she still believes, like, the tear and everything happening, getting powers, it was all destiny. And there's a conversation of, she believes, kind of like Zimbardo, that oh, like Naomi is meant for so much more, and she believes running away won't solve anything. And it's like, yes, I ran away and I wasn't there for Naomi. You guys did raise her for 16 years. You love her. You don't just see her as a means to an end. But for Akira, it's like, no, I'd lost hope of, our world ever being saved until I met Naomi. Because Jin is kind of questioning, like, what if you guys were right? Maybe someone with powers like Zimbardo or you, Akira, raising her would have been better because we don't have powers. We could have never prepared her like you guys could have. So maybe us taking care of her was the wrong thing. But Akira's like, right, the girl that you raised with such a good head on her shoulder, with such a good heart, she's only the way she is because of you guys raising her. You raised a wonderful girl, and I think she will be the one that ends up being able to save us all. So, but like I said, maybe that ends up being a twist that they did something to her parents, and that's why they go above and beyond, because they were going to do something to Naomi, but they saw her, she was so young and innocent, and they decided, no, we're going to save her, I don't know. Once again, just throwing out pure speculation. But another interesting side to this episode is, like, circling back to them, is Anthony and Lourdes. Anthony shows up to talk to Lourdes. He's like, oh, I'm just kind of seeing you about comic books, and I'm interviewing about the Superman thing again. She's like, why is that? Wait a minute. Is this about Naomi? He's like, what? What would this have to do with Naomi? Okay, yes. But once again, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. It isn't trying to think of like, oh, I'm trying to swoop in after you and Nathan just broke up. I think it is like, right, I do care about you. I do like you, but I am trying to be there for you as a friend, during such a tough time. And I want to do something that would kind of pep you up. But Lourdes is the one that's like, yeah, haven't you noticed that Naomi's been weird for a while? It's like, yeah, the disc situation, getting close to, D, who claims to be the one behind the Superman thing. It's like, things have been weird. Naomi's been off for a while now. So, and it all started with the Superman thing. So they go visit D, and D's like, hey, Anthony, Lourdes, and they're like, how the hell you know our name? We've never talked to you. It's like, Naomi talks about you a lot. So it's like, right, you said you did the Superman thing for publicity, but it hasn't really helped your business. I love it's like, I did it more so for artistic value rather than commercial value. Then Zimbardo shows up and is like, yo, get out. It's like, okay, why is he here too? Asking too many questions. Go out in the woods. They find the symbols from when Naomi was on her disc, and then they get attacked by Home Dude before he went off and found Naomi. But luckily, Zimbardo and D showed up, but have to reveal themselves. And now it's like, wait, what are you? And then the questions get answered of like, right, there's not just other worlds out there. There's other universes. But Lord is like, this is just comic book stuff. It's like, no, it's not. It's pretty real, just like Superman is too. So they reveal themselves to be aliens. And it's like, wait, Naomi, she's an alien too. Because at first it's like, wait, she's known about this for months. Why wouldn't she say anything? It's like, wait. And then Anthony's like, she's an alien. She's not from this world, is she? Which D's like, that's not our story to tell. And now it's the realization like, holy crap. I mean, Nathan handled it pretty well, finding out, holy crap, my girlfriend's an alien. And now now Anthony and Lourdes have to deal with that. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, right, why are you telling us this? It's because it's like, right, you guys care about Naomi and we care about her. So, of course, we care about the people she cares about. Because they made a promise, specifically even, the promise was already made, like, D was already going to protect the people Naomi cares about, but Zimbardo and Akira had agreed to protect anyone that was important to Naomi because they could always end up being a target, so. Now the two of them know the truth, so now everyone in her circle, now her group from the once again her gang, her team since we got introduced to from the very beginning, her squad now all knows the truth. Which this might be the biggest group that's ever found out, like, in just the first season alone. Other people, it takes a while before, like, the other members of their team, like the larger roster of their team finds out like this. It's like, Oliver's team, it took a while. No, I'd say, like, arguably, Supergirl, Jimmy and Wynn kind of found out pretty early on. So everyone not everyone at the DOD knew. Not the DOD, the DEO, sorry. So, I think Supergirl might be the closest one. The Flash had smaller numbers, and just like, once again, it took a while, because for a while in Arrow, it was just Diggle and Oliver, so. But, tangents and all that aside. it's going to be interesting to see where all that takes us, especially with Mac popping up. And it's like, cool. Do you really want to fight in another war? I mean, you risked execution to run away because the Thanagarians are all about war, and he wasn't about that anymore. He fought so many battles, and him and Q wanted to run. And it's like, oh, I can help you find Q, but you have to do something for me. And so I don't, because D is desperate to find her because he was still under the impression that she was dead, but now it's like, oh, she's alive. So will he cross that line to find the woman he loves? But he cares a lot about Naomi, so would he betray her and everyone else around her? I think he'll play the role like he will, but I don't think he actually will. Or maybe he will. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited to see where the season finale takes us, how this all plays out, because I don't think this is going to be a winning situation. Because her parents also told her the only way she could save their world to stop the tear and everything, you need the 29, which would almost make me go like, that's why I even think even more like it can't be Zimbato or Akira. Maybe it can be, but it's going to be awkward working with someone that betrayed you. But, you know, stories have done that where it's like, hey, someone that was pretending to be a good guy ends up being a bad guy, but then they kind of join you in the end because you need their help in the long run. So, we'll see how this all plays out. Like, I just get the feeling like it's not going to be, I think things are going to get pretty complicated, but like I said, we'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.